Oh, the stream's gotta end. I said the stream's gotta end now. Lee's here. How's it going, Lee? I hope he knows I'm kidding. If you don't know, I am, of course, kidding, Lee. I always like it when you join the streams. Yeah. No, I'm concerned. He's not here. Where'd you go, Lee? I know. Hey, Nick, how's it going? Yeah, that's he's been in the UE4 Help Discord for quite a while. Also, no, actually, he's in Capstone. Yeah, yeah, he's in Capstone. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, the viewer on it. Yeah. Hey Joe, how's it going? Yeah. Lee, come on, man. I was kidding. How's it going, Joe? Jason, there he is. Joe and Jason are from my 305. Anybody from my 305 joining in this stream is just a resume reviews, but it's across a bunch of different discords and stuff like that. So it's a bunch of students. It's not just from 305. Yeah, for sure. Oh, nice. Good deal. Yeah, they're on the beta stage of their 305 project, or due Sunday. So yeah, yeah, that's what a lot of people say. The beta week was the hardest. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, some struggles here and there for sure, but you guys got through it. Oh yeah, no, to do that. Oh, my computer's actually good now. I ended up just going all out and just completely erasing everything and with a fresh install of Windows 10. And I'm quite pleased with the results. It's my computer's running a lot better. So, of course, I lost everything, but yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I just didn't have the patience to go through the files. Be like, I don't want that one. I don't want that one. So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what one of my hard drives is backup, but it got so disorganized um, from me quickly. Like when I when I make a tutorial video, when somebody asks a question, I'm making a tutorial. I want to get that tutorial done and out to the student as quickly as possible, so I don't consciously think about where I'm saving files. So that happens a lot, and when that happens really often, your file structure just goes to complete heck. So yeah. Well, yeah. Well, see, I like doing it. Certain things I like to do with clean projects. That way, I'm kind of on the same level as where they would be starting. Um, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm going to do the same after capstone, just so I don't lose anything important I might need. Yeah, for sure. I'll be upgrading my. Oh, hey, Dennis, how's it going? My CPU and my motherboard soon. So that's gonna be fun. I can't get a newer CPU because my socket isn't the 300 series because I'm going with another Intel. So I need another motherboard. Yeah, I'm on the fence about it. I when I switch, I know AMD's changed a lot, and their Ryzen processors are pretty good. But I was religiously AMD all the time, and then the first time I switched to Intel, I was blown away by the difference. Like Intel was just vastly superior to the AMD chip I had. Oh yeah. Well, I went from a AMD Phenom 2 6 core to an Intel i7, um, and the difference was astronomical. Um, so I went with it, I guess. Mhm, mhm. Oh, nice. Mm. All right, yeah, all right, yeah, 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 mhm, mhm, Oh, hold on a second. Yeah.
There, how about now? That would explain why Lee wouldn't answer me. Rude.
You can hear me though, right? I'm
Yeah.
assuming people were responding to me. So.
Yeah, my desktop audio was going through. My volume level for my mic was pretty low, so that might be why.
Oh, okay.
So now it's going to be 11 minutes at the beginning of this just one-sided conversation with you.
Yeah, me talking to myself.
Perfect. This is part of the plan the whole time.
Oh, great. And you know what they're going to do now? You know what they're going to do? They're going to clip that. And they're
Yep,
going
they are. That's what's going to happen. Like he's finally lost it.
to. And I expect Aaron to make a track about it, a
Oh, it'll be
mixtape.
great. Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay.
Okay, well, we'll start over then, I guess. Oh, he was just talking to himself, Joe. It's nothing new.
Finally. Oh, thanks, Ryan. Appreciate that.
Okay, so what I was saying was this is from Trunk, and he and I actually worked on his resume a bit over the past week. That's what kind of sparked me to do this. I was looking at, he went to the SNHU resume advisors, and they kind of made a mess of his resume. So I wanted to make sure to get this info out here as well, especially to the people in this kind of coursework, so that they make a specific resume that isn't just default and makes them sound bad. Because the advisor was making him use a lot of terms relating to like entry level or like base level knowledge in certain things, and it made him sound very like, I mean, yes, we're all starting out in the industry, but we do have 4 years of experience through college at least. So,
Right.
but it made him sound a lot worse off than what he is. So
Yeah, you don't want to put that stuff in your resume.
yeah, like she even had it across the top, like applying for entry level software engineer. It's like, dude, just put software engineer. Like,
that's ridiculous.
yeah. So I was a little shocked by that, but we got him on the right page. But I was also saying that this first intro, this intro paragraph is one of the most important in your resume. It's actually, I talked to my hiring manager about it as well at UPMC in their software engineering department, and he said he reads like the first 4 words, and if they don't grab them, it's off to the next one. Like that's what you get. So your first 4 words have to be a very strong yet personable like catchphrase of some sort to at least get his attention to read the first sentence and keep going. So if you write, like I was talking to Professor earlier, he was talking to himself, but if you put something along the lines of, I am looking to get a position as a software engineer at your company, and that's your whole intro, that's getting thrown straight to the garbage. But this one's pretty good going through. It highlights a lot of his skills. If you read through, it talks about how he's always trying to learn, whether through Udemy, Pluralsight, or other like third-party education things. And then he did have it listed as experience in front-end and back-end development, but he lists those technologies later on, so I had him change it to full stack just because that's usually a pretty big keyword. So if you have any knowledge in both, try to go for those like big industry keywords like that. Other than that, though, it was a pretty solid intro. The only thing I would really change is putting some of his achievements up front. Because if you go down below, he is a commercial field technician for Comcast right now. And he talks about the amount of people he's trained and amount of devices he's set up, things like that. And he also worked as IT at a Fairfield. So the amount, like the size of the network that he handled there would be really good to put in your intro to be like, hey, I handled the network for, I was on-site tech for a hotel of 70 plus rooms, or I trained 40% of Comcast incoming workers. Like that would be good to put in like your first 3 sentences, at least in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
But yeah, big thing there is numerically showing what you have. That's kind of feedback I've gotten on my resumes before too, is that if you have something like that, I even had him do it down here. He had trained and supervised, and he had, I think, over 30 new hires. And I was like, try to put a percent on that then, because for some companies, 30 people is a lot, and for some companies, 30 people is less than 1% of their new hires. So that could be impressive or really unimpressive to like the right people.
Yeah.
So 40% really shows like he almost half of the people coming in all came under his leadership and got trained, which is, I think that's pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
But areas of experience, the lady at SNHU had him just put programming here. Please don't do that. Please don't just put programming as your area of experience. It was actually, I sent this one off, like I said, to my manager. He looked through the whole thing, and he just looked at it. He's like, programming? Really? Like, he's like, what is that? Like, what does that entail? So I had him include methodologies behind it, just because that shows you have a mindset to kind of think through a problem. Like, a lot of problem solving skills and abilities go into programming in that sense. And then down here, he shows all of the languages he knows, which is helpful.
Right. Another thing to note in regards of areas of experience and things like that. SNHU specifically, when they're writing their competencies or like the course outcomes, they word it in such a way that reflects what employers are potentially going to want. So, if you have a list of courses and they look at those competencies and they read those, that will help describe what you are capable of after taking that course. And they quite literally hire like these people who are brilliant wordsmiths who make it sound the most complicated, impressive thing possible.
Oh, for
So
sure. For anyone that took 380 knows that. Like, when we were going through that final chart that had all of them listed, we're like, what even is this at this point?
Yeah, exactly. So you can always, I don't never lie on a resume. That's blatant. But in areas of experience, don't be afraid, at least in my opinion, Aaron can jump in, to emphasize certain elements of those topics that you're really great with. General programming methodologies is a great kind of all-encompassing topic, solving logic problems, things like that. But, code organization or industry standard, methodologies too might be something you would want to include. Not necessarily there, but somewhere in your descripting, because that's something that companies like to see, because multiple people will be working on the same programming project. That's why, in 312 and stuff like that, what they're supposed to do, and computer science also, they're supposed to be commenting, having you comment your code, make sure it's organized, you're following those general formatting practices. Because a lot of companies, if you share the snippet of code and you don't have comments in your code, goodbye. Like, that's very important to some companies. Not
bigger
all,
companies,
but most of them. Yeah, for sure.
A lot of the smaller ones where it's like 1 or 2 engineers where you can just talk back and forth, it's not a huge thing. But I work for a 12-person team, and even there, like, only 8 of us will work on the same project max at a time, and it's still commenting is huge.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so those are all important things to kind of show off in your resumes, as well as your portfolio too. That's a whole nother topic. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Kind of going in the opposite direction of you said don't lie on it. Don't be afraid to put in everything you've ever touched here either. So, like, if you've done back-end work one time in your life and you've like touched a tiny bit of like Oracle databases, throw in Oracle database like initialization or just Oracle database or database work in general.
Right. Yeah. Don't be afraid to embellish, but I don't recommend lying. Like, if you have no idea what C# is,
don't put it.
Don't put it on your resume. So there's kind of a funny line there. Like, for example, for you, Aaron, specifically, you guest lectured for me in a course, and now on your resume, you could put that you were a guest lecturer instructing bachelor's degree students on, these topics and stuff, and really kind of build that up. Even, it was an hour-long live chat on a computer, but,
it's a guest lecture.
Yeah, exactly. You say what it is and you build it up. So we have source code that was made 15 years ago.
With no comments.
Oh, that's bad. So yeah, like what Aaron was saying,
If
don't
you've
lie,
touched
but
it
don't be
before, put
afraid
it
to
down.
embellish.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, his areas of experience, like the professor said, you can definitely doll these up a little bit, make them sound even fancier than they really are. But I mean, that's just comes down to phrasing, and it just depends where you're applying what you want to make it sound like. If you're applying at a local place, this would be very good. If you're applying at like a big tech company, yeah, embellish it, because local people won't know the big terms, so they might skip over it because it's too much for them to understand. Like it just depends on
Right.
who the hiring manager is and stuff.
Yeah. Also, text formatting, stay consistent. Right there, you have general programming in capitals, then methodologies lowercase.
Yeah, that's actually gonna be my
Debugging,
next point here. Like web
yeah, and
technologies, lowercase there,
is lowercase. Yep, and then agile development methodologies, both lowercase and then uppercase.
and
So
yeah,
consistency.
yep, and especially any type of bullet points like this. Good rule of thumb is just capitalize everything.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, especially if it's gonna be less than like 5 words long. I mean, it saves you in the end, and it keeps you from having to think about it too much.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I like on his kind of go in the next section here. He did put his technical proficiencies here, and I like that that's next above like all of his education and stuff. Some people put that way down at the end, and
Yep.
by the time they get to their skills or stuff, they're already like, okay, this kid went to school, good for him, and they're already kind of done with it. So always put your skills pretty high up. The formatting difference again, kind of between technical proficiencies, education, and experience versus your areas of experience. I can kind of tell this was added in later, and there wasn't like a specific template box for it. I just got added in, so try to match it up.
Another thing that I really like that was added here that a lot of people overlook, which is important, is the Microsoft Office suite. You would be incredibly surprised how many companies really want to see that on your resume because it's the technology age. Everybody's on a computer. Everyone is using something from Microsoft, whether it's Excel, something like that. So they do like to see that stuff, even if you don't think it's important. It's not a bad idea to slap it on there as well.
Yeah, and that's definitely like one of those keywords that can get hit by a robot and be the difference between you getting seen by a person and not too. Like just having Microsoft Office on there will usually ping you at least one point in the right direction.
Yeah, Microsoft and Adobe are the two big
Yeah,
ones.
Adobe's a big one, and then I have found that more recently, some things like Trello or Google Docs have also been two big ones within the past couple years that some managers
Oh,
that I've
okay.
talked to have been looking for, just because that's what their teams use. So,
Right.
but yeah, on that I'd probably put Visual Studio because if you put studios and it searches for studio, some things might not ping that. Some will, some won't.
Oh yeah, but I don't know if I want to work for a company that wrote a script that
That can't find studios.
can't find studios.
Yeah,
Or
that's
I
definitely
do,
fair.
and then own the company in a few
Yeah,
years. So
that's you go in and know more than the head boss there. You get up the career ladder
yeah,
pretty fast.
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, other than that, Git Bash, maybe put GitHub in there as well somewhere, just because it's kind of two different things, and a lot of people will look specifically for GitHub. Other than that, though, looks good. At least to me, looks good.
Or make it even fancier. Git command line
Woohoo!
rather than Git Bash specifically, because you
Snazzy.
can utilize Git in command prompt in different types of terminals. You could use it in Node, all sorts of stuff. So Git command line might be a better terminology to use other than Git Bash. But that would be more in. No, well, Git Bash is a UI. Command line really isn't. It's a
Yeah, and that again depends on like the
language.
company you're going for too. If they're like super heavily invested in GitHub, they would know the difference between the Git command line and Git Bash. If they're
Yeah, that's true.
pretty basic level, Git Bash, it's all good across the same.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the first one we've done so far. Yeah, we're just kind of hopping into it. Education, though, I mean, we all went to Southern New Hampshire University. It's not bad. Having that advisor had him do this as well, computer information technology with a concentration in gaming programming and development. I think that's pretty long and kind of rambling.
Yeah, I
And the
agree.
fact that concentration's not capitalized kind of irks me. But I mean, on your paper, it's going to say game programming and development. Um, Good companies are going to recognize the skills that'll come from that if you pitch it properly. Bad companies are going to be like, "Oh, he makes games," and throw it in the garbage. So you probably
Mm.
wouldn't want to work for them anyways if they just dismiss you at that and don't see the skills that you get off of it. But I know some people do just put computer information technology or computer science, so it's pretty much all the same. Although some companies will take this if you pitch it the right way. This is the way I did it actually. I put the game programming and development degree on my resume, and then pitched it as a like a computer science degree with a creative twist on it. So
Yeah.
I emphasized the computer science skills, and then also like I had them do here, I emphasized the graphic design skills, and that kind of helps you appeal to two different markets.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because computer science, they hardly ever touch any sort of creative cloud stuff besides maybe Dreamweaver,
Mm.
depending where you go.
Right. My question is: Member Sigma Alpha Pi, was he in a fraternity? Is that what that is?
That I think Sigma Alpha Pi is the it's like the honors fraternity that they invite you to,
Oh,
if I remember
okay.
correctly. Because I got an invite to them, but I didn't want to give them my money, so I didn't join.
Ah, yeah.
But yeah, I
Okay,
think
fair
that's what
enough.
they were. So that'll appeal to some people.
Yeah, yeah. I got invited to the honor society or something like that when I graduated with my master's. So I imagine
Nice.
it's kind of like that. I just didn't
Yeah,
want to give them
but
my money.
I'm thinking very similar. Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. It's almost like AAA. I mean, you pay for it and they give you some discounts and stuff. I think from what I saw.
Yeah,
So
yeah, pretty much.
to each their own.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
paid honor
Jason. There you
society.
go. Yep, exactly it. But yeah, other than that, I think his education's good. It is, I will say, a bit thin. I would try to include like maybe some projects or like a description of like the biggest team project you work on and put a number behind that. So like led a team of 5 people in developing a game from start to finish or something. Like that's 305 in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that, I mean, teamwork in general and doing stuff like that is huge. So
Mhm.
putting stuff like that will kind of give some explanation to your education. It just depends on how long you want your resume to be at that point.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And did see recently kind of a review of digital resumes that a lot of people don't care how long it is. The one-page resume is not a rule anymore. As long as it's all interesting and goes together well, they will keep reading it. So
Hmm. Okay. Good
yeah,
enough.
that was a like one of those like LinkedIn, uh, the more you know type things. Some
Gotcha.
hiring
Yeah.
manager. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always tried one page anyways, because I never knew if they'd want a paper one in
Yeah.
addition to the digital. So
I
it's kind of
I shoot for one page and limit myself to no more than two, just because if they ever want a paper one, I can do front back printing and hand it over.
right. Yeah, for sure.
So if you can fit on one sheet of paper and have that with you when you go to your interview, just to have that, I mean, shows some organization, and also in case they don't have it printed out, you can have it there, and they appreciate
Yeah.
that. Um,
And that's another thing. When you're going to the interview, always bring a resume.
Bring a couple copies. I'd recommend three.
Couple, yeah.
Um,
Yep.
just because when I went, I actually got interviewed by 3 different people, and
Yeah.
the first guy was the head manager. Of course, he had the resume. Second guy come in didn't have one and was going to chase the manager down. But if you just have one on, you can hand it to him. I mean, that's big. That's a big interaction, and uh, I don't know, just shows organization and responsibility.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyways, shooting down to his experience stuff. He's got 2 main jobs listed. It's commercial field technician for Comcast, and then guest services and IT for Fairfield. Um, so we'll start with the most recent here at Comcast. I know she had him put in some weird phrasing, like, um, what was it? Like this installed sponsored antivirus software bundles. That was a much shortened version of what was there. Her thing was like installed uh, many amount installed. Basically, it was basically like installed a lot of software on computers for people. Was
Oh,
basically the sentence
jeez.
she had for him. I mean, not quite that bad, but that was about the extent that it came across as.
Oh
So
man.
always try to shorten these and make them sound big and fancy if it's like a not huge thing. Like I feel like at Comcast, installing antivirus software bundles are probably just part of the job. Like when you go around, it's probably not like anything extra, but if you can make it sound fancy, that's always good.
Yeah.
Um,
Like a cashier at Old Navy can become a currency handler at a specialty retail outlet.
yeah, I
It
think
just sounds fancier.
one of my favorites was there was a cashier at like McDonald's, and it was like handled monetary transactions for a multi-million-dollar company or something like that.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Largest real estate holder in the world. You know, you
yeah,
could go all out with it because it's true. You're not lying.
it is.
McDonald's is. So
And you want to find that good line between sounding really nice and then sounding way overshot, because if they look at it and see it was McDonald's and see you labeling it as the biggest real estate network in the world, they'll be like, okay, simmer down, bud. But
yeah, it's true though. They
yeah.
are.
Oh, it definitely is. Multi-billion. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, multi-billion. Yep.
Misspoke there. But yeah, so just try to find that good sweet spot between sophisticated but yet not blown out of proportion. Make it sound good. But everything else here, like installed a wide variety of user devices onto company networks, troubleshooting to find solutions. This highlights problem-solving abilities and stuff. I will say I don't think he has the words problem-solving in this resume, and that's another keyword that some people probably throw in their stuff to ping for. So troubleshooting, maybe putting problem-solving, whatever. Either one will probably get him pinged there.
Yeah, Dennis, that's a good one. Manage software installations across multiple computer systems.
Yeah,
I like
that was really good. Let's see here. And here, help peers learning and using new technologies that support us in daily work. I'd probably change that to something about like instructed peers with both public and private technologies within the company, something like that.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
But just, yeah, again, making this stuff sound fancy. We went over this a little bit before about including numeric values in each of your items just to show like kind of an impact you had on the company. So him training 40%, he had it, for those that weren't in here earlier, he had his 30 people, and I had him change it to a percentage because 30 people is a lot for some and not a lot for others. So changing to 40% shows that almost half the people that came in got trained by Trunk here. So that's big. But then down to Fairfield, I mean, I found this funny because I also worked at a Fairfield.
What is Fairfield?
It's like a budget hotel by Marriott.
Okay.
Like budget long-term stay type hotel. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I just thought it was funny because I worked at one as well. And don't worry, we'll bring up a bad one or two. I have a pretty good example of a bad resume. But yeah, manage network infrastructure for 70 plus guest rooms. With corporate VPN connections as well. I mean, showing that he managed VPN connections along the whole infrastructure and got everything set up, because VPNs can be a pain sometimes. So I think that's pretty big. On-site tech support for staff and guests. Also explained the range of devices he worked with, and maintaining network security is a huge like buzzword for a lot of people. So if you can put that in there, even in this sense where he's just basically managing, wait a second. I think you stole this off of my resume. See how it is. Because I worked at a Fairfield right next to a government facility, and I remember putting this same exact sentence in mine. I see how it is. But hey, that just means it was a good sentence. So, yeah. But yeah, all in all, I think it's pretty good. There were a few changes that we went over, but I'd say this is pretty good. He's in a good spot to turn this one in, and if he ups it a little bit, it'll definitely put him in a very good spot.
Yeah. And here, you know what? I'm going to send you I don't have a paper or a digital resume anymore, but I will send you my LinkedIn link, and you can take a look at how awful mine is too. I'm sorry, you can keep going. I was just
okay. I wasn't sure where you were putting it. If you want me to pull it up on here, or just sending it out to them.
No, okay. You're fine.
But let's see here. You want an example of a bad resume? This is my resume when I first came back from like after I graduated, went off to the military, and didn't work out, came back, and just kind of getting back in the job market. This was a rough resume. So, give you a good example of a very bad resume.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, he's gonna follow you around. I don't know if that's nice or stalking, but we'll take it. But But yeah, just to briefly go over this, I have my name, contact information, no summary statement, introduction, anything like that. Just went straight to education, skills and abilities. There's no organization or anything to it. It's just bullet lists of different phone skills, sales skills, things like that. And then Burger King is the only experience. References and then comments on schedule. So yeah, that's an example of a really bad resume. But we'll move on here. Dylan submitted his. Pull it up. I haven't gotten to look at this one yet, so I'll be doing a little bit of reading here too. So his intro: recent college graduate, BS in game programming development, 4.5 years of work experience, aiming to leverage academic experience and a proven knowledge of management, scheduling, and customer service to be successful in the development role at your company. Frequently praised as adaptable and organized by peers, I can be relied upon to help your company achieve its goals. I'd say that is pretty good. The only complaint I have with that is it doesn't really show much of any sort of personal accomplishment at all. Like I see percentage here: ordered for and managed inventory levels of grocery, dairy, and frozen departments, contributing to a sales increase of 46%. I mean, depending on the position you are going for, that could be huge to get put up there. Just showing that you have had an impact on a company at some point. You could even just put it up here as have been proven to increase company output by more than or company revenue or income by 46%, or by close to 50%, something like that. Putting something big like that in your summary will make them wonder, okay, did they have more about that below? Because I want to see what they did that got this company more of a revenue, because everyone cares about money. Whatever you do, if you can show that you can bring a company money, they will want you more. And I feel like you'll probably have the same opinion on that one, Professor. But yeah, if you can show...
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just show that you can make the money. Going back to what I said earlier, education is up here first. I would probably put that down below, just because everyone's going to have an education tab. It's probably going to consist of high school and a bachelor's degree at this point. So, especially if you're applying for any sort of software development position or anything, everyone's going to have a bachelor's degree or a big amount of work experience. So, don't feel bad putting your education near the end. Although your GPA is 3.96 out of 4. I mean, that's good to show. Mine is not that. That's why I don't put it on my resume. But yeah, don't feel bad putting your education below to showcase your individual skills and projects. Projects I would put up above as well, maybe even above work experience, especially if you can take a project from your old job. I would put actually this right here, make it into a project of some sort, like label it as a project. So like sales analysis sales analysis for Shaw supermarkets or something like that, and then describe it a little bit below, describe it a bit afterwards. I think that would be huge, just to have projects across different things, so you have some in college, some out of college. But yeah, work experience itself, consulting with vendors, so shows that you have good communication skills, like on a professional level. Backup receiver, so organization there. Directed store operations in absence of store director, monitoring an average of 30 employees on duty across 6 departments and resolve customer issues. Okay, so you can handle like managerial type duties and things like that. Maybe going into a little bit of detail about said duties at some point. If you had any big accomplishments or any big accomplishments as an acting manager or anything like that, that might be big to put under here, just to show that you had an impact as a manager and you didn't just like monitor the store while he was gone. Just because a lot of companies do that, they'll just be like, okay, you're in charge, I'm headed out for a bit, or I won't be in today, this guy's in charge. Like a lot of people would do that. So putting an accomplishment there would be huge. 15 merchandising display plans for weekly sales ads. That's actually, that would be pretty big too to put up top, just to show design skills, depending on what you're going for. I mean, I'm technically a software engineer, but I've been designing websites for the past 2 months. So showing any type of design skills are going to be huge and put you ahead of a lot of just like little code monkeys that just know the code and don't know how to use like Creative Suite or anything like that.
Hmm.
Um, guided product resets according to corporate schedule, adding new items, removing discontinued projects. That one's good. It says you can stick to a schedule. I don't know if this bullet point's technically necessary. I mean, you can chime in if you think differently, but
Well, product resets, depending on how they handle it with the store, um, I'm actually kind of surprised a manager. Oh well, it guided them, so that I guess that's different. In a grocery store, doing the product research is kind of cycling the product. So basically, when you're stocking these shelves, you need to put the newest product at the back and the oldest product forward. But as the
does stuff get
product
stocked?
reset
Yeah.
comes through, they have to cycle that out. Discontinued products they have to remove, and guiding that in a grocery store, I can see being quite a bit of a task because there's a lot of product in that store. So I'd
Is
say it's a pretty good one to include. I
okay.
might word it differently though.
Yeah, I mean the way he words it makes it sound a lot more basic than what it is. I would try to
Yeah,
put try to get an amount in there of the products a store had, because if you worked for like a corner store Dollar General type thing where they sell or even like at a gas station where they sell 50 things, like obviously this is a supermarket so they sell some more, but
yeah,
um, guided product resets for um, three for like 1,500 different types of dry food goods or something like that, whatever it is in your
yeah,
store. I mean
yeah,
that'd be a big store, but just having some sort of number to it to kind of show how much you actually did there. I think that'd be a
right.
big thing there.
Yeah,
But
for
it might
sure.
even just be a thing
Absolutely.
of different phrasing, just to showcase what the work actually entailed.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, then you have projects down here. And my I have to hit this now though. My biggest complaint with this is going to be the skills down here at the bottom. Uh,
Yeah, I was already looking at that.
yeah, this is a one-page resume. Your skills are at the very bottom. It's almost like they were an afterthought. And like you have your programming languages and software, and that's it for your skills. If we go back here, let's see here. He had technical proficiencies. I mean, yeah, he had his tools, languages, and platforms. So the platforms was one extra. He did stretch out his tools a little bit, and it may just be the difference in font as well makes it seem a lot smaller. But with this being so compressed, I mean, without even looking at it, if you just look at the skills tab and see it that compressed, you're gonna think, okay, he knows a little bit about a couple different things. Like you're not gonna
Yeah,
think too much about it.
right. And
So
I would also recommend keeping away from version years. So Visual Studio 2019, I would take that 2019 right off there, because that might suggest to that. Well, I mean, somebody who knew the IDE would know differently, but the first person looking at it, whether they know or not, they'll see 2019. They'll be like, "Oh, well, our company uses 2017." Receptionists in many cases, when they're the first ones looking at a resume, aren't that bright. So you got to spell it out for
yeah,
them.
that's a big one I see with Microsoft Office a lot. Like people put like Office 365 or Office 2018, and a company will be
Yeah,
like, "Oh, we use Office 2008. Like that's the last one we paid for." So
right.
he probably doesn't even know anything about it. I mean, a lot of people probably don't know anything about it. That software is awful, but yeah, just
Yeah,
putting
people still use
Office,
it.
Visual Studio, things like that. I mean,
Yeah,
leave years out of it. UE4 is a little different just because it's Unreal Engine 4. But if you had like 4.24 or something, that'd be like the same comparison.
right.
Um,
But like also on top of that, because they're releasing Unreal Engine 5, and I actually learned on UDK, I could say Unreal Engine, and that would encompass Unreal Engine 3, 4, and then once 5 releases, it include 5 too. So it really depends also. So
2007 leads the way, Dennis. Yeah, it does. But yeah. And speaking off of that too, Unreal Engine 4 and 5 aren't going to be a big difference. But if you did do development with UDK, putting UDK on there will, for some developers, be like, oh, this guy's been working for a while on this stuff. He knows what he's doing.
oh yeah,
Like,
yeah. The whole bachelor's program was in UDK.
yeah, like that can be a big plus in the right direction if it's for the right company.
Yeah.
Going to programming languages, this seems a little bit short just because, I mean, I know for a fact we did Python in classes here at SNHU, and you don't have any other education listed, so I'm assuming you just did your whole thing here. So make sure to throw Python on there. Even if you don't remember anything from it, you've touched it before. After a quick refresher, you could do some basic stuff in it. Um, and just some other odds and ends. Try to get into some things that are like these languages. Like if you can get into Swift, it's basically C# and Java. And other things like that. I don't know. Just try to expand this, and because a lot of languages are identical. And then try to get some frameworks in there too. Like if you're going to highlight HTML and CSS, maybe try to get Bootstrap in there as a CSS framework. It's very easy to work with. I mean, an hour intro and you're good with it. Or even a big one companies look for now, if you're doing web stuff, one, you're going to want to have JavaScript down here, and then you're also going to want to have a JavaScript framework. So like Node.js, React, anything like that. That will stand out a lot and show that you can work with a framework setup, because once you know how to work with the framework, it's not too hard, but getting into it is a difficult step. But that's just my 2 cents on that one. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. It just, again, this whole skills thing just seems small to me, and so that's probably just
Yeah, I completely agree. Completely agree. I mean, like you said before, it should be moved up so there's more emphasis on it. And yeah, it just pull every little bit that you can. C++ and C# are practically the same. If you want to know one, you can pretty much figure out the other one. And there's tons of other languages that kind of fall into that category, just like Aaron was saying. So, don't hesitate to throw those down. You touched Python, throw Python in there. And even with Java, you could maybe mention Android development. You never know if the company is interested in Android development, and that's primarily with Java, Android SDK, things like that. And you could throw that up. If you know Java, then you could, figure out the SDK pretty quickly.
And you can also look into, with knowing Java, you can look into some web server stuff like Apache, Tomcat, things like that. That any type of network management or anything that runs their own like web app based facility, that is huge to have there.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Visual scripting is another one to add in there.
Yeah.
Blueprints is more visual scripting than programming, because one is pre-compiled, one is not. Just saying my resume was specifically targeted towards a certain job. Oh yeah, that's actually another thing that's not always a bad idea. Having multiple versions of the same resume.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That you change things up. Targeting specific courses or courses. Jesus, I've been teaching too long. Jobs.
That is a big one. Just because I was going around applying for like development engineer jobs and also some managerial jobs, and they don't care as much as a manager if you know all these different coding languages, but working with source control and like time management things and things like that are huge. So definitely having multiple resumes are huge.
Yeah. Oh yeah, always do a cover letter.
Yeah. I think he sent it over to me. I didn't pull that one down. I don't think I was just pulling resumes out. I do have your cover letter here. I can pull it up as well.
But yeah, I actually miss UDK. And going back to Aaron mentioning actually specifically calling out UDK is actually a very good idea, because Gearbox, the Borderlands games, all of those are made on UDK. I don't know if 3 is or not. I think 3 might be on Engine 4, but I know the other ones they did UDK. Borderlands 1 and 2 were. I want to cover letter 2. It's like I take a course just Java in the field. Yeah. I was always told that typing speed was important. Is that true? It depends on the job, Jason, for sure. Including that kind of as a snippet that you are. How would you word that? I'm trying to think of a fancy way to word that.
What, typing? Like
typing speed. But you
typing proficiency is usually what I see.
That's the word. That's the word I was looking for in my brain was proficiency. Yeah, include that one. Grandmaster typists of the universe. That's a good one. You can include it under skills. Um, along with Microsoft Office, being able to include, typing proficiency or, basic computer navigation.
Sorry, I couldn't find
Oh,
what you're looking
quiet,
for.
Alexa.
Lightning fingers. I like it.
Lightning fingers. I like that.
But yeah, basic computer navigation, like the fact that you know what the start menu is. I work.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, I work in like a support role. The amount of people that if I say, okay, open your start menu, and they're like, my what? Like, there's a lot of people that don't know what the start menu is or anything like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The graphic design job I had, the resume, I actually accidentally sent this company the wrong resume at first. And I sent them my programming resume, and it was for a graphic design job. And they saw that my degree was in game development. So I still got a call because they related that game development to, okay, he does programming, but game development's also art stuff. And they had a few things listed in there regarding art. But I actually ended up writing software for the company to make everybody else's jobs easier because like their analysts, the analyst's job was to take like measurements and put them in the spreadsheet for other people to use. And it was mindless. They would just look at one spreadsheet and put together the SKUs and put together the measurements manually by hand. And I was like, wait a minute, you could just write a script, type in the SKU, and it'll automatically grab it and pull it over in Visual Basic, So I did that. Yeah, and they have no idea. Like, this one woman that sat next to me got incredibly angry because her computer had restarted and her Excel window had closed, and she didn't know how to reopen it again. This is a person that was there for 4 years. So include as much as you can. Is the moral of that story.
That's going back to the place I'm at now. I mean, I got hired on basically. I mean, it's a software engineer position, but I'm in the telecommunications support sector. So really, I just fix people's phones all the time. Mm-hmm. But we have a lot of database analysis tools for the managers of different departments, and we had one that would go through their active outbound queues to kind of see what they have in it and stuff. But it would, it was written in Visual Basic before, and it would query the databases every time and cycle through and update everything. So it took about 5 minutes to load this program up every time. And they're like, hey, you do web stuff, make it better. And, crash courses into JSON later, and now we have a website that loads up in, half a second and just loads it all from a JSON file that's constantly updated. Yeah. And so there's not 50 queries from different departments going in on the database, just one constant one that just kind of updates this file. So, yeah, having those skills put in there can really help a lot of people.
Absolutely. Even if you don't know it. Like, I mean, while I was working there, I did not know Visual Basic, and I did not know AppleScript. Yet I was able to write programs in each of those for the company. So I literally just sat there and learning the language, and then I wrote the program.
Oh yeah, and if you work for a good company, they'll pay you to learn that too.
Oh yeah, and they
work
did,
for the right people. Yeah.
Yep. But it reminds me of the show The It Crowd. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but he's got a recorder that automatically answers the phone. And he says, hello, IT. And he goes, oh, I'm having issues, and the tape recorder automatically responds with, did you turn it off or turn it on again?
I was waiting for it. I haven't seen it, but I knew that's what was coming.
Is it plugged in? And they're like, oh, that worked. And it's like, okay, have a good day. And the recorder automatically hangs up. So he just sits there drinking coffee and playing darts while it's doing that. It's pretty funny.
The Whorehouse one, you could put serve in the role as programmer or as opposed to acted as.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the word
acted sounds bad.
Yeah, acted sounds like I pretended to do this.
I played programmer for a semester.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah. No. Acted's bad. So yeah, like he said, he put served in the role of, or even just worked as programmer or operated as programmer or just programmed in a team of 6 students.
Yeah.
Like many ways to put that one.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I think that's just about it for this one. I mean, it's just the other 2 projects in here, which I do like like I said before, I do like the concept of having projects in your resume. Especially like this one, obviously, is a game. It's a whole game start from finish. I think you should show that, like create an entire game from start to finish in 8-week term with a team of 6 students. Like that would,
and even then, technically speaking, it was in 5 weeks.
True. It was definitely not an 8-week term.
Yeah, because
I mean,
the first week
term,
wasted, the last week's wasted, the second week you're getting in a team. So,
and then yeah, for your degree capstone, I mean, I'd say this is pretty good. I will say that a lot of degrees do have a capstone project that's similar. So
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe go a little more detailed on like your biggest achievement in your capstone. Like optimized project to function 20 frames faster or whatever. I don't know. Some way to show that you like your proudest achievement from that capstone should be in here somewhere. But I don't know. I think we hit that one pretty hard. Let's see here. I got Dennis up here, and he does have his cover letter. I have it as well. I can pull up. But actually, let's go ahead and pull that up. Just get an idea of where he's applying for. Go with the resume, because the resume might be towards that as well. Okay, so Dennis is a technician. And he did have his contact info here. I will say the top part of this seems pretty bland to me. I mean, again, it just depends. Bland may not be the right word for it. I think it's the mix between the font and then kind of the bluish gray sweep across the top makes it feel kind of like early 2000s professional header type thing. That's just my own opinion on it, though. But if you're going for technician, you're obviously not going for design, so it's not going to affect you in any way.
Right.
But you're looking for bachelor's degree, 4-year college or university. Go ahead. You sound like you had something to say there. Or are you good? Whitworth? You good?
Hear me?
There you are. Okay.
Did I go? Oh, okay.
I think.
It's just answering them.
No, you're bouncing in and out a little bit there.
I
think you're good now, though.
Am I good? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, you're good. But yeah, going through here, this is good. You kind of hit the individual points of the job listing, I'm assuming. Like, I'm assuming that this was like the requirements, like bachelor's degree, related experience, SME on the computer systems. They probably had that in there as well. Like, I'm just assuming these are probably all the requirements they had listed. So listing them out in a bullet format does help them find them. I'm kind of back and forth on having a bullet list on your cover letter. I don't really know how I feel about that either way. But I mean, do you have a preference either way, Whitworth, or is it just kind of that's it? That's what it is. Doesn't matter.
I'm kind of on the fence about it as well. I feel like they should be aware of what they're looking for. So I feel like it's kind of redundant mentioning it again. I see the intent with it, but I would probably more use that space to talk about why you are the person meant for that role.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I always try to get across to people in cover letters. You don't want to start it off with the very basic stuff. You want to say, okay, here's my cover letter. This is why you need me, and talk about it and prove to them that they need you as an employee in an engaging way.
Yeah, because if I'm being honest, like, yeah. I would have started reading this, been like, you're looking for it, and then been like, oh, here come the requirements. And I would have skipped straight down to the next paragraph.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
I would not have read through because, like, I know what I'm looking for. I'm hiring. Like,
Right. Exactly. Yep.
and everyone who's applying is going to have the requirements more like at least 75% of them. Like, if they're the minimum requirements, everyone's going to have them listed. So, like you said, it does get redundant. And then you don't really sell yourself down there. You just have, if so, then you need look no farther. You will see from my enclosed resume that I meet all of these qualifications and more. That's good that it pitches to your resume, but you don't really give a point in here to like actually look at your resume. It's just kind of saying, hey, I meet your minimum requirements, so here's my resume. And I mean, I do like this bottom paragraphs. There was specifics he wanted on there. What do you mean by that? Like in terms of requirements, or like this is like specifics of how he wanted the cover letter to look, or what do you mean, Dennis? Just to get a better idea, because I know there are some companies that they are very particular about what they want in their applications. While you're typing out that, I'll go through just a little bit more here. Like I said, I do like the end here. Having his information on the side that is professional. So, requirements, okay. So yeah, like having the requirements listed is good. But you want to build off of this. Like, yes, you have a bachelor's degree. And if you have 4 years experience, that's good as well. Like, but you want to build off to as like your bachelor's degree. What's your degree and why does it make you a good candidate? Like if it's as a technician role, I mean, technicians usually more hardware side of things. So selling a bachelor's of science in game programming and development would be difficult, but you have BA listed here. So let me check your resume. Do you have another degree? Just to be on the same page, I want to make sure I'm going everywhere here. Okay. You just have the degree from here and then your certifications. I would actually probably include your certifications here just because, I mean, I'm assuming these are like specific to a technician role, like level 1 commercial certification. Sounds like commercial, like contracting type stuff. So I would try to include those on your cover letter. Be like, I have a bachelor's degree along with 3 certifications in related fields, things like that, just to give you that extra nudge in the right direction if he reads through this. Do you mean like this front cover letter piece was copied from the job posting? Like it's just like a template they gave you and they said do it this way? Just making sure I understand. Like I'm not gonna bash on it if it like not gonna spend this time trying to fix it if it was like the company's way of doing things. I get that for sure. And this is also just for reference, like if you end up writing one from scratch, like what's good in this, what's not good in this, just to get a good idea. Template. Okay, gotcha. So it was just take this, put in what you got. I gotcha. That seems kind of counterintuitive to me. Just cover letter is supposed to be introduce yourself and prove why you need why you fit the position. And if they give you a template cover letter, that's funky. But yeah, I mean we've hit this enough. I mean there are pros and cons to this layout, but if that's what they wanted, then I mean it's good that you did it that way then. But let's go back to your resume here. Okay, gotcha. I was gonna say the end seemed personable. This seemed copy paste type thing. So yeah, it makes sense that this was copy and pasted and this was changed. Let's see here, experience, and I know you have a decent bit of experience here. We'll watch just for little typos like this. Just having 2 current without the space there. I mean, just small thing. Always make sure you proof your resume. Hey, welcome back. We were just discussing, just to recap, he said this first bit was actually a template listed in the job posting that you had to use, and then this last bit was something he put on, which I
Okay.
found strange for a cover letter to have a template because you're
Yeah,
supposed to sell
that's
yourself, but it is what it is. If that's
yeah.
what they wanted, it's good he did it. But so we're gonna hit this real quick. Well, not real quick. There's quite a bit here actually. I know he's got quite a bit of experience here. Um, let's see here. So you start with your experience. Let's see. I would do an intro of some sort. You'd kind of dive straight in to your experience. You don't have any sort of skills category. You just have experience, education, and you're done. And your certifications. No, I don't know your boss, Dennis.
I will say, add in that rule with an introduction really does depend on the amount of experience you have.
That's true.
Um,
If you have pages of experience, obviously you've got a lot of meat underneath you, and you got some stuff
yeah,
under your belt to work with.
yeah. Like my dad, he's been pretty much every job you can think of, but uh, his primary role was he machine operator. He worked in a machine shop for a very long, like 29 years, and no introduction really needed for him.
Yeah,
His experience spoke for itself. So you got to kind of gauge which. So in regard to you, Dennis, you have a lot of experience as a technician. Um, so it can't hurt you having the introduction, I don't think. But I don't know. I don't know if you would really need it. I'd like to get your opinion on that, Aaron. But
well, I was gonna play devil's advocate there and argue that if you do have this much experience listed, that you'd actually want a summary spot even more. Like in those resumes where you have one or two jobs listed, you can look through easily one page, like, okay, he did that, that, and that. But in this
yeah,
one, there's a lot here. So if I have 200 applications for a position and I see this much experience come through, yeah, it's good you have that much experience, but I'm not gonna want to read through all of this if I don't have a general idea of what's there, because like,
yeah,
I mean, if I don't recognize the company names, I mean, I'm sure people in the specific industries do, but like, if I don't recognize a company name, that's not going to tell me anything about the job. So I'm gonna have to read through all of this to figure out what it's about. If you put a summary, worked for a company as a lead service and repairman. Let's see here, in quality systems. I'm just kind of skimming for some just big points from each one. So like, operated as lead service and repair worker. Army Reserves is a big one to go through as a power generator mechanic. You can go through. Squad leader would be good. So squad leader in a power generator mechanic team in the Army Reserves. Things like that. Just putting like big bullet points up front of what you have accomplished, just to show, because like, if you had that, I could see that, be like, okay, this guy has experience that's relative to this. So then I would want to read through and find out more about what you've done specifically at each position.
yep,
But without
yeah.
that, I just don't have that desire to like read through all of this. Not gonna lie, like,
I actually completely agree with that. Something I didn't really think about. It's the same exact advice I give for people for their portfolios. Um, that that person has 500 to 1,000 portfolios they have to look through before lunch, and they're not going to take the time to read every single thing. That's why let your work speak for itself. It's kind of the same concept here, but summarizing your experience into shorter snippets is a great idea. So I agree with that completely.
Joe, and going off of that, you asked if it makes sense to list all the jobs and then list all of the technician stuff together and kind of like a lump cluster of knowledge. That's kind of what I'm going for in adding a summary and a skills tab basically up top. So you do your summary and just kind of highlight the biggest part of each job that you've done, or like the biggest role that you've had or biggest impact that you've done, and then have a skills tab under that, or skills section that goes through like major skills that are used in the industry that are relevant, and like hit some buzzwords there. Then I would actually say, with this much experience, I would summarize it up front, and this is just how I would do it. I mean, Whitworth, you can argue the other way if you want, but I would put everything else up front and then attach the experience as almost like a separate part, as like a more detailed section to describe what you did at each position. Just because this is so detailed and thorough, I mean, that's good. But like, he's gonna want hiring manager is going to want to have that desire to read through this before they're going to go and read through all of it. And if you send 3 pages and this pops up in a PDF and you see this, I'm probably not even going to take the time to like scroll down to the 3rd or 4th page if I see 2 pages of experience.
Yep.
That's not to sound rude. Just
that's how I completely agree. Somebody who is in a time crunch and they have to get through a certain number, to you getting this is something everybody always has to kind of take a step back and think about. To you, getting that job means everything. To the employee working at the job that they're in charge of hiring you, depending on the company, if they don't have a human resources department and it's just the workers or developers that have to hire new people, hiring is a burden on most employees. Like I can't tell you how many retail jobs I had when I was younger. And of course, retail is different than technician, but that, the hiring manager would complain. They're like, oh God, I got to go look through these resumes. And it's a strenuous task. It's not something they enjoy doing. So making it as easy as possible for them will put you ahead of everyone else.
Yeah. Because this all kind of goes back to what I said earlier about my current manager saying that the first 3 words are going to sell him on your resume, whether he's going to read it or not. So,
yep.
I mean, your first 3 words, it's your name and contact stuff, experience, and then it goes right into it. So your first 3 words are lead, service, and repair. Basically, are your first actual words here in the resume. And yeah, that shows a position, but that doesn't show like what you can do for them per se. I mean, as a technician role, I guess it's kind of big, but I would really rather see an intro of some sort that kind of shows what you can do for them.
And also, when I came in, I noticed you pointed out the 2 current typo there. There's also a few in the first experience thing. Assists current is 1 word, and assists technicians is another 1 word. Just needs a space in between them. So definitely make sure you're going back through your resume and proofreading
at the beginning of these 2 here. Yeah, I mean, proofreading is just a big thing. Just making sure you get all the typos and stuff out.
Yeah, because if they see typos in your resume when you're applying for a job, they will assume you make a lot of mistakes in your code.
And it just gets pitched immediately.
Yeah.
Like they're like, he didn't even take the time to go back and revise his resume. He's not going to revise his work here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, then it is probably just a missed spacebar. It even could have been converting it over to PDF or something. I mean.
Yeah, and it could have been just dealing with the template if you use a template for this.
Yeah.
Some templates are horribly built, so it's impossible to click in once you type something in to add a space. So that's perfectly possible as well. So.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, putting that aside, obviously you have a lot of experience through here. And from what I see, I mean, like I said, this is a lot to go through here. But from everything I've read so far, everything's phrased well, especially in a technician type way. And it seems targeted towards technician aspect. If you're using just your experience up front like this, I would say probably shorten this stuff so it's kind of short and concise. But if you're going to add it all at the end, this length is perfectly fine, I would say. But then down here, like I said, there's no skills tab, so definitely put in like a short skills briefing of the top different skills that you've done before. And obviously you have a lot that you can add in there, so that would be huge. I mean, if you just see a giant skills tab, that's better than just a giant experience tab for some people.
Briggs and Stratton. Wow. Nice job, Dennis.
See, right there, if that was on the first page and where was your hiring manager, he'd be like, ooh, let's read.
Briggs and Stratton, that's awesome. Yeah, and I'd take a look at your resume for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is kind of hidden down at the end of your resume by everything else. I mean, certifications, especially in a technician role, that should be on your first page, like way up top. I mean, certs are huge in a lot of different industries, but I know that's one of them that it's like they base a lot off of that. So,
Ever heard of what? Briggs and Stratton? They're they're a manufacturer. They're primarily that I know of them are engines. They build engines for Craftsman lawnmowers and stuff. Engine company, yeah. I've worked on Briggs and Stratton motors for a very long time. That's why I was like, oh, Briggs and Stratton, cool.
Having a Kohler certification is pretty important too, though. Like, And
Yeah, oh yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
that's the one that stood out to me. I was like, oh, there you go. So like,
Yeah.
I mean, different strokes for different folks, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, definitely put those up top. As for your education here, I mean, it flows well. It shows what you did, and you have your dates there. I don't really see a problem with it.
No, it
I mean,
looks good to me.
yeah. It, with everything else you have on here, this doesn't need to be very cohesive because everything else speaks for your experience. So you don't need to rely on the education to kind of show off what you can do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Maybe emphasize Dean's list a little bit more if you wanted to. I mean, you don't have to, like I said, like Aaron said, because your experience speaks volumes.
yeah.
But yeah, looks good.
Anything else you want to look at with this one? Or Dennis, was there anything specific you wanted us to look at on yours? Just making sure we cover everything. But I think we're in a good spot on that one. Overall, with those fixes, I think it'd be a very, very solid resume for any position, especially technician based.
Briggs and Stratton makes generators too. I don't know they made generators. I knew they made lawnmower engine. I mean, it would make sense. It's a small motor, so
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. That's cool though. Every Briggs and Stratton mower I've had runs no matter what I do to it. So so they're good. They're a good manufacturer for sure.
So it's like the Honda Civic motor of lawnmowers.
Yeah. Depending on who you ask, of course.
Yeah, of course. Let's see here. This is Chris submitted this one. I saw the layout of this. And I really liked it. I mean, just like initial thoughts of it. I don't think it was a template. I think he just did the headings and stuff himself. It looks like, just based off of how the bullet points and things are. But
right,
it's clean.
Mm-hmm. It is clean. Very clean. And the first thing I noticed is honor student.
Yep.
And member of the president's list. That's awesome. In my opinion, that's really cool. That shows that you work hard, and it makes me want to learn what you're doing. So I stole the layout from Google. Nice. Natural gas or propane home standby generators. Nice. They have the BMW generators, so they break down, but you're not allowed to bring them to the junkyard.
I wasn't going to say it. Oh, you can steal the layout. That's fine. I'm just saying it doesn't look like you like click the Word template. It looks like you just kind of hand put the layout itself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very, very nice looking layout. I like it.
Yeah, it's just clean and looks good. But yeah, like you said, honor student, member of the president's list. That, I mean, that's huge. Just putting that first. I mean, that grabs my attention, and obviously it grabbed his. So I'd say it's pretty big. Just a
I didn't even know SNHU had that, to be honest with you.
What? Not
my school had it, but
president's list.
The president's lists and the dean's lists.
Yeah, I think like 3.5 and up is where you start getting that stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. 3.8
I think is president's, like 3.8 and up.
Yeah. 3.8 and above is president's list, and then where I graduated, my undergrad, if you had a 4.0, you made the president's list of high distinction versus just the president's list, which was a 4.0 versus a 3.8 and up.
Okay.
Which was kind of cool. I don't know if SNHU has that.
I mean,
nice 382.
Hey, that's not bad at all.
Yeah,
I'm at like a 3.3 or something like that. I don't know. It's passing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so academic credentials are reinforced by programming experience gained while working directly on personal game design projects. The only thing here, this last bit, personal game design projects, that kind of limits you because you had a lot more than that throughout SNHU's kind of timeline. I mean, yeah, we had game design projects. We also had like sales programming things through Python. You did the car sales project. And we did some websites and some graphic design, things like that. So I don't know. I think listening to that, and also even just personal, because I mean, you did a team project as well. So I think that could be phrased a bit better. But everything else here
I
in this
agree.
first bullet point's good, in my opinion.
Personal
Consistent communication and presentation. I mean, this is good too. If you look down just the left-hand side, you just see honor student, consistent, strong knowledge, and working knowledge. Working knowledge and strong knowledge, just having working knowledge kind of conflicts. I mean, if it was just working knowledge and didn't have strong knowledge before it, I would say it'd be okay. But when you have something that you say strong knowledge and then working knowledge, it really just kind of diminishes anything that you put in this category. Because it's like, okay, you don't feel nearly as confident in this as you do in these. I mean, that's how it comes across to me anyways.
Yeah, no, I actually do agree with that. Strong knowledge of object-oriented programming, working knowledge of graphic design. It should be hard. I'm just trying to think of a different way of wording
Yeah, like a way
it.
to revise it.
Right.
Honestly, this you could even put you could start your skills section or do skills gathered at SNH. You could right under this SNHU part, you could do skills gathered at SNHU and put this stuff in here, or just start your skills section right here where strong knowledge is. So like these two could be kind of like, I won't highlight, but the first two bullet points could be kind of your kind of like attention grabber / summary type thing, and then just go straight into skills and just include these in your skills. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you're getting at. That's a good idea.
So like, yeah, you just start a skills category here and then do like, then you can just do programming, graphic design, web animation, VR, and list the stuff you use for each skill.
And that would help emphasize more the skill itself rather than just kind of within a sentence. It gives it its own section, so it's more prominent in the resume. I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, and that would also give it the headers of these individual things. So if they're looking for something specific, they'll know exactly where to look for it. So definitely having that skills kind of almost like a table here would be really nice. Education, SNHU currently enrolled, president's list, active member, and contributor to newsletters. Nice.
That's very cool.
Ooh, XR development. Nice. You could do XR, or you could just do AR/VR. Because depending on the company, one will ping, one won't, possibly, or they'll ping for all of them. But if you have more like little keywords, so AR is probably a keyword, VR is probably a keyword, so it might be better to do it that way.
Yep. I'm kind of skipping ahead here a little bit.
No, you're
but
good.
Programming languages, blueprints. I would recommend doing visual scripting.
Yes.
Or Unreal visual scripting instead of just blueprints, because this is kind of a common misconception. Like when I'm doing my tutorials, I call them blueprints. They technically, the language itself, the nodes are not blueprints. The class, it's kind of a broad term for the class you're using. So when you right click, create a blueprint class, and you choose actor or character, that is the blueprint. What you're actually putting inside of it to make the functionality, that's visual scripting. So it's important to make that distinction.
Yeah, and they generally just, I mean, people refer to it as blueprints just for ease of explanation and because it's more of like a UE specific term as opposed to the whole industry wide.
Yep, exactly.
But yeah, so actually this is almost everything that you would include up in this skill part up top. So like move this technology summary, just rename it skills, put it underneath this top bit, and then include your like the rest of this stuff. So like your graphic design, web animation, and VR stuff all down in here, and kind of separate it out that way. Database management, I would not call GitHub or Bitbucket database management. Source control, yes.
Yep.
But databases, that's Oracle, that's MongoDB, SQL, things like that. So that I mean that'll get some people, like some front desk people, but if you get pulled into an interview and people are told that you work with databases, they're going to start asking you about these things and you're going to have no idea what they are. Just
MongoDB.
Yeah.
I remember Mongos.
Mongo, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's awful.
Yeah. Hey, Kirby Vacuums. I worked for Kirby.
Hey, there we go.
That job right there is deceivingly difficult. Kirby, I'm telling you, it depends on which method he used. If he went with going to the office, picking up the vacuums, and selling yourself, then it's not so bad. But if he went with the crew, you leave the office at 5 a.m. and you drive to the closest military base. And you are out until you don't get back to the office until like 11 o'clock at night. Then you have to drive home and you have to go right back to the office at 5 a.m. the next day.
Oh man,
It's insane. I made crazy money doing it, but it's not a job for the faint of heart by any means.
door to door in Florida and manage crews.
Oh yeah, it's awful.
Nice.
Yeah, I was door to door too. We'd go to the military base, and they'd let all of us out, and we'd have to go door to door offering free carpet shampoos to showcase the vacuum.
Nice.
Or excuse me, the Kirby. What was it they wanted us to call it? The Kirby cleaning machine or a home.
Because it wasn't a vacuum. It was a cleaning
No,
machine.
it wasn't a vacuum. It was a cleaning machine. It declogged drains. It shampooed. It vacuumed. It air compressor, like all sorts of stuff. But yeah, it was a crazy job. And we had a script. Like we had to tell people to they literally told us jokes to tell the customers. Like you'd get up and you'd pick up the vacuum and ask them where the closest bedroom is so you could vacuum the mattress to show them what it came up with.
I just want to say his last comment. We'd give them free bottles of dish soap and then just walk into their house.
That's one way of doing it, you know? Are they going to tell you no if you just gave them dish soap? Was it Dawn?
I'll leave. Give me my dish soap back. You got a guy pull a gun on you.
Oh my god.
Jeez.
That's awesome. Wow. That's cool. What kind of dish soap was it? That would determine whether or not you would...
That would determine whether or not Whitworth pulls a gun on you if you walk into his house with him.
If it was Dawn dish soap and it was one of the big ones, I'd be okay with it.
It's a good old spick and span.
No, but Kirby, it's quite an experience. Oh yeah, see.
Like I said, spick and span.
Yeah.
But back to the resume here. I mean,
yeah, sorry.
I would. No, you're good. No, I'm very okay with that tangent. I would definitely put the skills underneath the jobs that they are related to.
Yeah.
Just because, like, manage crews of salespeople, made sales and set meetings. Like, okay, that's cool, but a vacuum setup. I mean, obviously, Whitworth knows how Kirby does their sales, so he can appreciate that. But if it's that versus like going door to door selling medical alert, like we don't know what that applies to. So I definitely try to organize that in a way where your details are underneath the items they are on.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Let's see. Develop project agendas and follow them through on criteria. And that's good scheduling, organization, things like that. That's good key skills to have. Graphic design prototypes to be passed on to the marketing teams. Try to pitch this a little bit more as in like you did most of the work and then the marketing team kind of finalized it. Yeah. Just because graphic design prototype sounds like you kind of just pulled out a sketchbook, drew up an ad in it, and handed it to some dude to actually make it happen.
Right.
And that's the picture I got from it. I'm just speaking honestly
I'm right
here.
There with you. I'm right there with you. And combat medic. No, wow. Nice.
Provided life-saving care and training for such care to other personnel. I'm not sure.
Life-saving care and training for such care to other person. That reads very weird.
Yeah. I'm actually not even sure what that says. I mean, obviously provided life-saving care and training for such care to other personnel.
Okay, so I feel like there probably should be
two
comment.
bullets. There should be two bullets here.
Okay, yeah.
One should be provided life-saving care. The one should be trained other medics to provide same level, like a distinguished level of care or something like that.
Yeah. And volunteer work, help to work on aspects of Pebble VR game. Yeah, I might format that a little differently to emphasize that you volunteered to work on the game and here's what you did. Format it kind of like a project you worked on rather than a single sentence.
I would also, I mean, I would try to get something else in there as well, like some other item, because having a whole section for one item, this just seems like a big empty space down here to me.
Yeah, that's a
Because
good point.
you're pushing up here very close to like a 1-page resume, so when you go to the second page and it's mostly white space, that's that's not good to me. I don't think. I mean, I don't see that as being a good thing. If you have a second page, you're gonna want to fill it up, and this just in general, a whole heading for that. I definitely would want to expand on this. Maybe volunteer locally at like some like training thing for programming or something for like high school, middle school kids or something, and throw that in here.
Right.
I mean, anyone can get into those, especially if you grab your clearances and stuff. And
Okay, so you can do, if you have more that you could include in your portfolio, you can absolutely do a 2-page.
This is just so close to a 1-page that it seems
you should do either one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a very awkward in between, I guess. This is
Yeah.
And it's
and link to the portfolio, I usually include within the contacts area towards the top of the resume.
Trunks here, if you'll let me. He had his contact info here, and a LinkedIn link was right below it there, so it was all right there in the corner.
So like that resume we just had open there, that black bar that's going across the top, Chris is there. That black bar, maybe include it there with an email and then the link to your portfolio right next to it with your phone number or however you want to handle that.
And if it gets to be too big, you can always do 2 lines and just make the top line bigger than the bottom line for formatting thing. Actually, in this sense, because it's depending how long your name is. If your name's longer than software engineer, do longer on top, shorter on bottom. Just try to make it flow a bit. It just makes it more visually appealing. Not a huge thing either way. But you can see on mine, I had all mine over in the corner here. I had my email, phone up top, LinkedIn and stuff down below, social things like that.
It looks like a research paper.
Mine?
The formatting of yours, it looks like the beginning of a research paper or like a medical journal.
Yeah.
The way it's formatted there.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I had a decent amount of headings that where if I labeled them straight, it would honestly look like a whole bunch of this volunteer work. Like you'd have a heading, a couple sentences, then immediately another heading.
Yeah.
So that
I like how it looks. It looks good. It's just it looks like a research paper.
Yeah. Which that might be something that you can do for yours as well, Chris. Like you could do volunteer work linked with your education, like side by side. Like you could do 2 boxes or something like that. Just because, you have one school list in your education. You have a lot of highlights and stuff, which is good. So that'll stretch it out vertically and make it look like you did a lot more at this university. And then you can do your volunteer work next to it, and it'll stretch out a lot vertically and make it look like you did a lot there.
Yeah, just education and volunteer work right there, and then just plop it right in.
Yep, the illusion of lots of more content than's really there.
Yep.
But did you have anything else you wanted to ask us on yours, Chris, before we move on? I'm just going to show mine here at the end, but just to make sure we answered all your questions, or if you have any new questions, we can answer them. You know what? You don't include it, but I probably would. I would include all of your degrees in here. Just because it is a degree, you did a lot of work for it, so it shows you went through college twice. I mean, it's not bad to change your mind on a degree and switch over to a different program. I mean, it shows that you saw where the market was going and where your interests were. But it also shows another set of skills. So if somebody else also has a degree in like computer science, they'll look at that and be like, okay, they're kind of the same. Oh, but Chris has a degree in English. So like he'll have a better understanding and a better vocabulary for setting up programs for us for like the front end on like customer facing things.
Yep.
So I'd say it'd be good to put that in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming by Whitworth going, yep. He probably agrees.
I do agree, yes.
But yeah, I'm just gonna pull mine up real quick here. And this was my most recent one. I've sent it out to you guys multiple times throughout the different Discord channels. But I mean, like I said, I have this intro thing. I've always, anyone that I've talked to about any sort of resume, I've always hammered this really hard of trying to have an intro that highlights your biggest achievements. So like I had teaching assistant for Unreal Engine 4 programming course at SNHU, local trainer for Office and Google Suite, 3 years network maintenance for 75-room hotel, and programming and development major with 10 years of technical support experience. I mean, this is what we were talking about earlier about lie but truthfully, basically. 10 years of technical support experience. That puts me at being, 12 years old. You don't know my age looking at my resume. I mean, I've been fixing stuff since I was 12, but they don't know that. They don't know if it's professionally, if it's like a side gig under the table that I do or what it is.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
10 years of technical support experience. They look at that and be like, oh, dang, this guy's been working with this for a while. And I show up and I'm 22 and they're like, what? So, yeah, if you have the experience to back it, don't be afraid of putting that in. I mean, your age isn't there. They don't know what demographic you are based off of a sheet of paper or a website. I mean, once you link to a portfolio, if you have your picture on it and stuff, they can kind of link that. But let's see here. Yeah, he did steal that sentence. See, I was right.
He
there it is,
changed it
right
a
there.
little bit. The beginning of yours is a little different than the beginning of his.
He changed it by like 3 words.
Yeah.
Wait,
is he still?
Wait, you stole this one too.
That's awesome.
On-site tech support for both staff, flip phones to high-end computers.
He totally did. Oh no, he did word for word the last sentence.
Yep. Oh man. And he just changed this to 70 plus instead of 75.
That's awesome. You go, man.
Hey, if it gets you a job, good for you.
Yeah.
I can't complain. It's the same job.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yep. Along with corporate VPN connections. There it is.
Yeah. So he just copy and pasted your experiences. Yeah. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. And for mine, the only complaint I have with mine, I don't know why I did this at the time. Maybe I was in a rush or whatever. I put my main summary for me down below my experience in education and stuff. That probably should have been up top. But it is with skills. It's lined up with those. So it kind of drives home what my skills can be applied for. And then they can see exactly what I'm good at and what I can do.
Okay.
And then going back to, was that Chris's? Yeah, the strong versus working knowledge. I use this format to kind of carry that across without making me look like I am unsure about things, because like 3 out of 5 stars is still pretty confident. I mean, I am not a pro in Amazon Web Services by any means, but I can set up a website for you. I can do some some basic virtualized servers and things like that. So, I mean, I'd say that's a pretty 3-star rating there. It's pretty average for someone that's jumped in, and you can definitely learn stuff on the job. So this is a good way to sell yourself and make yourself look good. Because if they see 5 out of 5 stars, they're like, oh, hey, they're an expert in that, or they feel confident in their skills in that. Yeah. So I don't know. I felt that was a good way to put it. Not for everyone, for sure, but SNHU, I did put the accomplishments from there right in the description of the university instead of putting it as a separate projects tab, just because I don't have many personal projects that have gone into any sort of production outside of that. So leading a team, working as a TA, admin on the discussion boards. I mean,
oh good, you did add that. Good.
Yep. And then SRU, my old school that I was at, just other small things there, because they did web development a lot. SNHU doesn't really focus on that at all. So having that focus on web development really helps balance out the game programming and development side of things. And that's a kind of a skill a lot of people go through. Head it out, Nick. Okay, cool. Yeah, go ahead. And if you ever had other questions, just ping either me or the professor or both on Discord. We can help you out with actually setting up the resume and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But final point on mine, though, going back to the experience thing, lying through your teeth, but doing it truthfully. 12 years as an IT consultant, provided support from Windows 98 to Windows 10. I mean, that's a big range. What?
Your dad trying to open Word so he could type up a document, and you 12 years old helping him open that WordPad or whatever. That's
my
IT support.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
my first laptop was a $50 laptop off of eBay that ran Windows 98 and had to be plugged in because the battery was shot in it.
Yeah.
And we got it for like a family vacation or something just to occupy us in some downtime. And I just spent the whole time tinkering with it because it couldn't run anything. So what else can you do if it doesn't have internet built in and doesn't have any games on it? You can just mess around with Windows 98 settings the whole time. So I'd say I'm pretty sufficient with Windows 98. Yes,
Well,
helping your mom with her cell phone is just as good.
Now, I will say this, okay? Be very careful what you put on your resume in regards to IT consulting and things like that. Because if your only experience is helping your mom with her cell phone and they ask you
They ask you some
in the
serious
interview,
stuff.
like, okay, can you elaborate more on your IT consulting experience? And you sit there and you say, yeah, I helped my mom with her cell phone once.
I helped
They're
my mom
gonna
connect to
laugh at you.
Facebook on her phone.
Yeah, they're gonna laugh at you. Or say, yeah, I've told people to turn it off and turn it back on before. Like, they don't like that.
They kind of frown upon that. Make sure
Yeah,
you know the ins and out a little bit.
Yeah.
And since this isn't technically a school sponsored stream, I can say this, but one of my favorite mottos from my old drumline instructor was either amaze them with your awesomeness or baffle them with your bullshit. So even if you don't know it, if you can walk through it and kind of BS your way to pretending you know it enough for a hiring manager to believe you, because hiring managers, sometimes they know a lot and sometimes they don't know anything. So it's kind of luck of the draw.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
IT crowd.
Yeah. I love that show. That's a good show. Well, cool. I like your resume. I like the formatting on it very much.
Thanks. Yeah, the reason I did it this way, this is different too. A lot of people, they're going to see a lot of resumes that have the same kind of general flow to it, even if they're not even if some have like headers and stuff like that, or like graphics on them, things like that. So having something that's slightly different, they're going to look at it and be like, oh, like what am I? Some of them will be like, oh, what am I looking at here? I want to see how this is laid out, or it'll attract their attention. Some of them will be like, that's trash, and chuck it. So it just depends on who you're applying for. So yeah, I think it's big. Having titles and positions underneath your name is kind of helpful, depending on what position you're coming from. If you have a title, don't put student. I've told a lot of people that. Don't ever put student underneath your name. Nobody cares if you're a student. But if you can BS your way, IT admin. I wasn't an admin, but I was the only one working in IT at the hotel, so technically I'm the admin.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, but that's where I stand on that. I mean, are there any other questions? That's pretty much about it. All I had in mind.
Yeah.
We'll see if there are any questions here, but I think we're good.
Yeah.
Oh, I did have one portfolio sent in. If you want to look at that with me real quick, it was by Peck.
Yeah.
Sent it in.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. We'll take a look at it.
Let me get this copied over. Okay, so this was his portfolio, and I will say, the first thing I noticed when it came up was it has a dated feel to it. Just based off of like a lot of people are gonna do theirs on like WordPress or something and just punch it in, and it's gonna make it look all modern and pretty and stuff. This is through GitHub, so I'm assuming you either used a template or coded it yourself. And either way, I mean, that's fine. If you coded it yourself, definitely like exemplify that. And I know you're not done with it. We did discuss that you're only like halfway done with it.
Yeah, knowing Peck, he probably programmed it himself. So
yeah, oh yeah, I definitely have no doubts about that.
Yeah.
But as for the actual layout, like content itself, a lot of it was pretty good. I liked it. I think these should be swapped, like your work experience and education. That's just my personal thing. And I do like over here, though, he does have these general skills. You click on them, they bring up little details about it.
Yeah.
That being said, if you don't know to look for that, the font is a little small. Like this says click each skill below for more details, but it's about the size of like a rat turd, so you can barely see it.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I agree.
So like, yeah. So make sure you like anything interactive on a website, make sure you really emphasize, hey, interact with this, click it and find out what it does.
Yeah,
'Cause I didn't.
a good.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
A good design choice to kind of emphasize that it's a button that you can click is a drop shadow or a what's the other one called? The opposite one.
Like an inward glow type thing, or
The
inward shadow. I forget what it's called.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that one. So it looks like a button that's pulled up from the environment, because people naturally want to click things, and if it looks like a button, they're going to click it.
Yeah, if it looks like it stands out from the back of it, if it looks like it could be physically pressed down, they're gonna be like, "Hey, can I click that?" And they're gonna try.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
I will say the color change helps. Like when you highlight over, the fact that it changes color and the mouse cursor changes, obviously because it's a button, that helps.
Mm-hmm.
But only if your mouse. That's the only way I found out. I have my mouse cursor over here is scrolling down, and like one of them flashed. And that's the only reason I knew they could be clicked.
Okay. Now another thing that I'm kind of confused about regarding the skills setup, I'm assuming it's your level of comfort with that particular thing, which determines the length of the bar. If that is the basis of it, then what is the colors?
Actually, I'm pretty sure the colors is just like an emphasis of groupings. So like green's very confident, blue is confident, yellow is has done a decent bit, and red is like, okay, I've touched this once or twice. Like it's a more generalized grouping of things.
Okay.
That's how I saw it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it too. But then there's the different lengths of the bars. Like communication written is really long, and then Java and C++ are both green. They're the same length.
Yeah.
So
I think it's
like
it's like broad detail versus like specific detail. But I do get that. I mean, it makes it look a bit unorganized.
Yeah,
I think is what you're going for.
Yes. Yep.
But yeah, I don't think it's bad. I would definitely change this, like we've talked about before, to visual scripting. Make it more broad. Mm-hmm. As for everything else, I don't have an issue with the colors and the lengths, just because I work with like dashboards and stuff at work all the time, so I'm used to seeing stuff kind of portrayed like this. Mm-hmm. But for other people that aren't sure, like they might be like, just like the professor said, like why is there different colors and different lengths? Like, is there different meaning to both or what? Mm-hmm. So you could throw a key in there for it if you need to, or just make them same color, different lengths, or I don't know. There's many different ways to go about this. I don't have a big problem with how it is, though.
Okay. I do like the sharing the images for each one. I think that's a very cool touch.
They are links too. I didn't know that.
Are they?
Like
nice.
the home pages of these
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's a really good touch, is putting that in.
Yeah, that is very cool. Oh, Securitas. My brother-in-law worked for Securitas. But I mean, honestly, if outside of just kind of updating it, making it look a little bit more, I hate using this word, but modern. And it might be as simple as getting rid of the blue background.
That would actually help a lot. Get rid of the blue background.
It would make it so it's all kind of one cohesive thing rather than these segmented parts, and it'll make it look less 90s.
Yeah, like if you look at SNHUs, they just have a dark gray background and then rounded corners with like very slight drop shadows, and it gives it a very modern tiled look. I mean, my portfolio looks just about the same as that. Like it's just very similar. So I'd definitely recommend that, and I think it is the blue, just also because the old that was like Windows 98 system color for everything was this shade of blue, it seems.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I'm getting like flashbacks to that, and that's what's making it feel outdated. But
and also finish the banner up top.
Yeah, and he did state that this is definitely still in development, but he just wanted to see what we thought of it so far. But yeah.
Yep.
Do that. Also smile. Just like if you're going for a programming development thing, they'll want to see a friendly face. If you're gonna put your picture on there, just make sure to smile in it. You look grumpy. Yeah. You look like the security guard, not the programmer. So. Yeah, Dennis, Windows 3.1.
Oh, I love 3.1. I miss MS-DOS and those giant floppy disks and using playing Family Feud on the big floppy.
Oh, there you go.
That was a good time.
I still have a couple PowerPoints from elementary school with
Oh, do you really?
on floppy disks. Yeah.
Nice.
The only other thing we talked about earlier with content, this is basically good capitalization up until both, and then it has a period. Don't put periods if you're doing the all caps, because it's not a sentence at that point, and also capital to be in both. Then, I mean, that's a detail thing though. I don't know. I guess this is just for him. But just throwing that out there, and I don't know if your birthday is really relevant. The only reason I say that is because it throws you into a demographic, and you want to stay as neutral as possible in your resume. Like I said earlier, like with my experience dates and stuff, they don't know how old I am, so they can't justify that. They just see 10 years of experience in this, and they're like, okay, he's got 10 years of solid experience. Good. I mean, obviously you have you're a bit older than me, so you'd have that 10 years, and it wouldn't put you at 12 years old. But I don't know. That's just something I often tell people to stray away from. If you want to do like an about me page and put that in, maybe. But if you're doing especially a one-page dashboard, I'd probably stray away from that. But yeah, other than that, you're on the right track for sure with it. I mean, it'll show off web design skills on top of everything else. So I'd say it's pretty good.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. But yeah, with that aside, I think we're done. I think that's it. 2 hours in, you know.
Yeah.
I'd say it's a pretty productive session there. Yeah. So yeah, I'll ask one more time if there are any other questions, but I think we're pretty much good. And like I said before, if you guys think of something afterwards, feel free to let me know, and I can always either shoot you an answer there or just do a quick one-on-one meeting or something with you if you need me to.
Yeah. The same offer goes here.
Well, that seems like it's it, so I'll call it. Thanks for joining, Professor. Definitely helped out.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, you led it. I just kind of chimed in every now and then.
Yeah, but it definitely helps getting some confirmation from someone a little bit. Like I said, I mean, I don't have a lot of experience, as a hiring manager, so having somebody else in general,
gotcha. Yeah.
It helps.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. We'll have to create a highlight video of your 11-minute self-discussion at the beginning.
I know you guys will. One of you will. I know it. I'm waiting.
Well, that's it. I'll see you guys. You have a good night.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.